Sometimes you really do need to break a leg. Hello and welcome, my friends, to the 171st episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host, and for the second time in 3 episodes, we get to hear from some cool people that I met at Entrepalooza out in Santa Barbara each year. We met in October. Rick and Lisa Martinez are today's guest. Back just 2 episodes ago, session 169, we heard from Aaron Chase, the founder of $5 Dinners. Rick and Lisa are a husband and wife team. I don't want to steal all the thunder, but Rick was a speaker like I was at Entrepalooza, and we got to meet each other and hang out. They're fellow Texans, so we hit it off quite nicely. Rick was also in the military, so a fellow veteran. Ooh, Rob, baby. He has an interesting story. They both have an interesting story. Their ups and downs, how they overcame setbacks, how they viewed setbacks, how they use those to get motivated, how Rick followed his intuition, his little voice, and made the leap. So you are in for a treat. And as I've mentioned in the last several episodes, you're in for another potential treat. It's a great treat, but not everyone will win. But you're a winner just for applying. And leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the Sales Podcast, either on iTunes or Stitcher. And then text the word sales to 96,000, and you will be entered to win a sales success toolkit worth a little over $100 if you bought everything independently. I will pick a winner each week. So text that after you subscribe and leave a review so I know who you are so you can be entered to win. And now on with the show. Rick and Lisa Martinez all the way from San Antonio, Texas, fresh off of your yoga pose, which you know I'm going to bring into this conversation. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How are you?
Wes, we're doing awesome. We're just excited to be here with you.
We're super excited.
I'm going to use this as a little teaser to keep people tuned in, but I'm going to ask you about your yoga photo that you just put up yesterday. So, but we won't get to that for a little bit. But hey, you and I, all 3 of us, we met at Entrepalooza, right? The Entreport's annual conference at the end of October, and you're also partners with them. And I loved your story and how you two have built a business together and multiple businesses. So I wanted to have you on. But, I mean, for those that do not know you, would you mind take a minute or two, kind of give us a thumbnail sketch, and we'll go down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, so I'll talk. So Lisa gets a little bit nervous. That's really crazy because one of her strong suits is being able to talk to anybody at any time on any topic. And the microphone's making her nervous. So I'll tee it off, and then I'll let Lisa kind of chime in. But
oh, no, this is my interview. Lisa, go.
There you go.
Oh, thanks a lot, Wes. I really appreciate that. So the question that you wanted to know is about mine and Rick's business history. Is that what you're asking?
See, I was only halfway kidding, but I like the way you just picked it up and ran. Yeah, so how did y'all get started? I mean, what's the story? And Rick, I mean, if you're more comfortable with it, how did you get started? Because you had an interesting history. You told me about how you built a nice business and sold it, and now you're back in the entrepreneurial world. But take us back kind of to the beginning, and how you built up that business and how you came to be hanging out with me at Santa Barbara a couple months ago.
I know, right? It's crazy, the twists and turns of life, and often just stepping aside and letting it kind of unfold. It's so Lisa and I are both nurses. So first of all, we're both registered nurses. We've been combined probably over 40 years of nursing. I've been a nurse for 20 years, and it was 15 years ago, Wes, that I was doing contract work. You know, there's a general shortage of medical personnel, and so I was doing contract work. In other words, I was filling in empty spaces, and I was placed by an agency. And it was just one day I was finishing a shift after I had done multiple contracts back to back. And the director of nurses just happened to see me in the hallway. And I was just getting off a night shift and she was coming in. And it couldn't have been scripted better, almost like a movie. You know, I'm on my way out. She's on her way in and the sun's coming up. And she says, "Hey, Rick, we want to renew you. You know, my contract was ending." She goes, "We want to renew your contract." And it was one of those moments that when I look back, it was critical. It was a very simple question, but I looked at her and I said, hey, it's no problem. But the thing is, I'm going to switch companies. And she said, no biggie. She goes, just go ahead and have them send over the contract. And, we want to keep you. We don't want to let your term expire.
Okay.
And so I walked to my car and drove to my apartment. And so Lisa and I were just dating at the time. We weren't even married. And got to my apartment. I'm like, all right, Rick, you've just done something. The hornet's nest just dropped out of the tree and you're not quite sure what you did, but you don't have another company. There is no other company. Wes, I went to LegalZoom.com and I kid you not, I formed a corporation. I stayed up. Lisa and I have had friends in different industries. So a friend of mine helped me write up a contract. And a few days later, I met with the director of nurses at the hospital. And she said, cool, I got the contract. She goes, now I just need to, their sales rep. And I was thinking to myself, well, Rick, you already stirred this nest up, so just go with it. And I looked at her and I said, well, I'm the sales rep. And she kind of looked at me and said, no problem. They signed the contract. I was self-employed at that moment. And, the rest, as they say, is history. But I really didn't know I was in business, Wes. I was driven by a few things. Like I said, I was divorced, so Lisa and I were dating. No correlation, just for clarity's sake. And I just wanted to spend more time doing a few things. Time with my kids, who were little at the time. This was 15 years ago. I wanted to ride my mountain bike more. I wanted to make more money. And I wanted to hang out with my girlfriend, when I wanted to. And those were my motivators back then. And little did I know that soon this hospital asked, Rick, do you have any more nurses that are like you? And I say like you because it wasn't just about getting a body to fill a role. I was good at what I did, and I still am. I don't practice nursing, but I knew my stuff. And so I looked over at Lisa, and again, we're both nurses, and I said, yeah. I said, I got a friend who I think would love to come in and work. And so Lisa became my first employee, and again, little did we know we had stumbled into the brave new world of entrepreneurship, at least for us. And together, we got married soon after that. Together, we built this company into a very large staffing company, and we ended up providing doctors and nurses exclusively to military hospitals across the country. And we sold it a few years ago, and that's the nuts and bolts of the story, and kind of where we're at today. And then we met you at Entreport, a few months ago, because
now your life's complete, huh?
Now, yes. Now, Wes, I'm just like, Lisa, what more do we need to do? I mean,
we need to meet Wes.
Yeah, we've taken care of people at their best and worst, and we have kids who are grown up and have entrepreneurship, and we went to Mexico a couple times, and now we met Wes. So, is there anything else?
Dun, dun, dun. The clouds parted. Look outside. There's probably doves and stuff flying around.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you something. So you're getting off of work. Were you disgruntled? What made those words come out of your mouth to that director? Hey, yeah, I'm switching companies.
Wes, I have never been asked that, and I kid you not. That is a great question. You know what it was? I think I've always been, I grew up, my parents always saying, you can do what you want, put your mind to it. I had very supportive parents and a family. I had a good childhood. I was always happy, and I still am. So, that's a great question, because I wasn't disgruntled. I wasn't unhappy. I just on some level, after having done contract work for so long, I thought to myself, maybe in an arrogant way, I don't know. I thought, I can do this better if I just do it for myself. And I think it was just that thought. And, no, I was a happy nurse. I was doing what I love to do. And I just thought about what was really driving me. My kids, my mountain bike, my girlfriend, and to make a little bit more money. And it just came out.
That's amazing. So you hadn't been doodling on a notepad, how much money I'm giving up to this agency, or what would it look like to start my own company? This just came out of intuition, if nothing else, for lack of a better word.
So that is a good word. And in fairness, I think I was always doodling. I was always looking how I could make more, how I could earn more. In other words, make more and work less, maximize my time, work smarter, not harder.
Right.
And I never quite knew what that meant, but I was always thinking, if I made $5 an hour more, then I could work 10 hours less. And Wes, it even got to the point where I went and worked as a strike nurse, because there are some states that the nurses are unionized, and they would go on strike, and I would work on strikes. And so, yeah, I don't know that it was pure intuition. I think it was just there had been something kind of brewing in me, and that was just like the door opened. It's like she opened the door, and in my mind's eye, I saw the open door, and not knowing what I was going to get when I walked through.
Now, at that point, you had been in nursing 5 years?
Yep. I graduated in 95, and I had been a nurse for going into my 6th year as a nurse. Yep.
Okay. And always contract?
For a year, I worked as a staff nurse, and this is going to sound crazy when I say this out loud today, but I was making just under $12 an hour as a registered nurse with a college degree, and so in 95, I took a job as a staff nurse for just under $12 an hour.
But in 95, man, that was worth like $3 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, times have changed, so there's no doubt.
All right, so you did that for a year, and then you did the contract thing, and so and that was local, I guess. That's how you were able to be dating, because it was all in San Antonio. Or were you traveling the country as a traveling nurse?
I did both. So I was local at the time, and Lisa and I were dating. Now, we did do a travel assignment to the same city. There was a strike going on, and a strike in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we did do an assignment together. But I stayed home. I mean, I did travel a lot, but at that point, I had Lisa, my girlfriend, and you've met her. I mean, why would I want to go anywhere? I had Nirvana right there at home.
Amen. And you had to keep her close before she changed her mind and came to her senses, right?
I know. It was part of my mystique in the spell. I got to stay close.
Okay, so you say this. Yeah, I'm changing companies. Did you panic? Was it exciting? Did it cross your mind during that hectic 24 or 48 or 72 hours that you may not pull this off?
Yeah, I'm Lisa's over here laughing at me because, again, we were literally dating. We were probably less than a year away from getting married, and I mean, I didn't know it then, but
she knew it.
Yeah,
no, I didn't know it either.
She told me. She pulled me aside. Oh, I knew. I saw him. Oh, I knew. I had plans for him from the beginning, but okay. But I digress.
Got my hooks into that boy.
Yeah, no, Wes. You know what? I don't know that I was scared. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that I should be scared. Reflecting back, I absolutely probably should have been frightened because I had to come up with a contract and a corporation. And I think what happened was, now this was probably just natural and intuition, is I just worked. That's all I've known is I'm not the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed, but if there's one thing, and I think Lisa would agree that maybe is one of my gifts, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this as well, is I won't stop. I mean, I'll keep going, and if I don't know it, I want to learn it. And so I got my nose to the grindstone, and I didn't stop. So I don't think I had time to be afraid, honestly.
And how much time did you have?
It was literally a few days before I had to reply, and.
Okay.
And I think on some level, Wes, is I knew that if I didn't reply, they might forget. So it was kind of like strike while the iron's hot, kind of thing. So,
and there wasn't any kind of non-compete or something with your previous company?
I don't know. I didn't ask. And it was one of those, ask for permission or forgiveness. So I never inquired. I just got the contract done and got to work. And I don't know. I have no idea.
But obviously it didn't come back to bite you on the butt, right?
No, it did not.
Well, that's awesome. I've been doing this series, and on Friday I released the 6th one on my SEAL Week, Navy SEAL Week, for this swim I'm doing. And, you have a lot in common with these Navy SEALs. They all talk about, they're like, I wasn't like some, all-star captain of the football team or something. All of them, they just refused to quit. They set a goal and they weren't really sure how to get there, but they're like, I will get there. And so let's dive in. So you're like the Navy SEAL of private nurses.
Yeah. I need to come with some sort of badge, like with the trident and a red cross or something on it. So
there you go.
Wes, the funny thing is, I got to tell you this real quick, is that one of the things I believe you're the same cut of the same cloth is I like to do a little bit of homework beforehand. So knowing we were going to talk today, Lisa and I sat down and was like, okay, let's listen to some podcasts. And then it was the one we just heard was about a girl who was held captivity and rescued by SEAL Team 6.
Oh yeah, that's from this weekend. I released it Friday.
Yeah, and then I went back and I'm like, okay, so the previous one, a SEAL, and I'm like, Lisa, we are nurses, and we're going on to Wes. We're going to be talking to Wes, and he's just been talking to like Navy SEALs. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. We're on the heels of Navy SEALs, and so.
Well, actually, Scott McEwen was only an author of Navy SEALs, and Jessica was rescued by them. So, you have more in common with Jessica. She was doing service work and, trying to help. So you're in good company, man.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you just dove in, you get this done. So this was early 2000 or early 2001?
That was
2001.
That was the end of 2000, right, Lisa? Mm-hmm. And early 2001 was when we officially incorporated and dove in.
Now, I imagine healthcare was a little more stable because that's right on the heels of 9/11, right? Was there any uncertainty from that maybe gave you pause, or was healthcare just not impacted as much?
Wes, the thing is you're right. It was right before 9/11. And,
right before. Okay.
Yeah, like literally. We incorporated months before, and there was already a general shortage of nursing, of staff, of physicians as well. And, the funny thing is now that when you say that, so the company continued to grow, but after 9/11, a few things happened. Well, the obvious, but what happened is there were massive deployments of hospital personnel overseas, and what happened was
so that actually helped you grow.
Mm-hmm. It was so Wes again, not even knowing what we didn't know is, and then we live in San Antonio, which has it's home to one of the largest military medical centers on the planet, SAMC, and so Air Force, Navy, Army, they're here, and this was in our backyard. And it was just kind of, again, we kind of stumbled into contracting with the government. And then the war, if this was like a story, and then this would be one of those moments where it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? Because in 2006, the military activated me. And you want to talk about a company that's growing. And then, I'm like pulled away for 18 months. It was crazy.
Oh, okay. So tell me about that. So you were prior military?
Yeah, he was activated. He was in the after 9/11. He told me, he goes, Lisa, I've got to go back in. He said, this is crap. And he said, I'm going back in. And so he recommissioned in the Army and was an Army nurse. And he wanted to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and all those places. And he ended up going to Walter Reed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was there in Walter Reed for 18 months, and it was an experience that changed his life. He was working with kids our children's age, 17, 18-year-old kids, and getting blown up, and he was working on the unit, and it was the most rewarding yet, gratifying experience that he has ever experienced. And he was like, I'm just so grateful to have had this opportunity to have taken care of these boys and girls in the armed forces. So with that, he came back and then started CrossFit gyms after that.
Holy cow. All right. Hold on a second. So you're running your business for close to 6 years when you decided to re-up and go back in the military?
Yeah. Wes, it's one of those kind of those moments like when the director of nursing said, okay, so where's the contract? After after 9/11, I think it impacted pretty much every American. And I mean, my dad was in Vietnam. My uncles, my grandparents were World War II vets. And so maybe it's part of who I am, but I was compelled. I wanted to do something. And I was a nurse, and that was my skill and my gift. So I went back into the Army, and I was commissioned as an Army nurse and promptly activated with the set of orders. And at the time, I was like disappointed to not go overseas, because I'm a trauma nurse, and I was sent to Walter Reed, and I was sent to a pretty standard medical floor, not knowing that it was one of the most prominent medical units in the country, because it's where the amputees were coming back to. So it changed me. But yeah, at that time, Wes, Lisa and I we understood more about how our business operated. And the fact is, because I was now a federal employee as an Army officer, I had to sign over power of attorney to my company because our biggest client was the federal government. So right. I signed it over to Lisa, and the company grew. I mean, it grew in those 18. It continued to grow in those 18 months.
Right, but you were married by then, right?
Yeah, we were married.
And then, were you pretty hands off, or were you diving in at night? In between shifts, or did Lisa run with it?
I think I'm looking at Lisa, but I think I was still doing some shift work at that time. I was still actively so. We had personnel that would run day to day, but I was still. A lot of my salary then, Wes, came from me still humping on the ground, still going into shifts. I was the front guy. I'm the guy I can talk to CEOs and directors of nurses, and the easiest way to do it was to do what I do best and be a nurse. So I would be the first person that we would send in on a contract because, I mean, honestly and frankly, because I would wow them, because I didn't complain. I did my work. I did a really good job. And all of a sudden they were like, we want to have more of your nurses. And right. that was our value proposition. We didn't just know our jobs. We gave a damn about taking care of fellow human beings. And so I was kind of like the mole. I was the Trojan horse that my company sent in. And so
okay.
that's how we did it.
Well, which brings up a big, big problem in my mind, is how do you find people to replace you? So it's kind of like you're the sirloin, right? You're the fillet, and then you're going to throw in some ground beef behind you.
That's a great analogy. And, here's the thing is that, so you've met Lisa, and for the folks who listen to this and don't know Lisa she's extremely practical. She's real. And she was also in charge of hiring our staff, our nurses. So yeah, while I was the sirloin, one of the things we wanted to avoid was to not send in ground beef because, and I say this with love to my fellow nurses, is we're not all the same. It's just like any profession. Some are just kick ass, and some people do their jobs for the wrong reasons. And I'm not saying this to nurses.
That's any business. I have the same problem, right? I'm personally struggling with growth because I can't find good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you do it? Lisa, what was your secret?
So, honestly, Wes, we knew, Rick and I had been nurses for like a bajillion years, as Rick has shared with you. And we knew tons of people in the community, because we staffed all the hospitals in San Antonio all the way up to Dallas on the private sector market. So people knew Rick and I, and Rick and I were paying the nurses at that time $40 an hour. And the nurses in the hospital were making like 28 and 32. And so everybody wanted to come work for Lisa and Rick for $40 an hour.
Nice.
So we built up, we had a list of people that wanted to work for us. And so, and plus, I don't know, we just kind of built a reputation out there, and they just wanted to come and work with us and be on this whole, we would pack people in cars and drive up to Austin and go like work for the hospital. It was like crazy because it was fun on some point, but at sometimes too, we were there to work and they were there to make money,
Right. Well, so were you just more generous? Where like you start your own company, so now you're paying your nurses $40 an hour. But were you charging the hospital the same? Like, was it $60 and your previous company just kept a bigger margin? Or
yes, that's it. The other companies, everybody pretty much had the standard bill rate. I mean, you might have $1 or $2 less than the guy next to you, but at the end of the day, everybody had pretty much the standard bill rate. The hospital said, this is our rate, basically take it or leave it. And you worked with that rate based on your margins. You know what I mean? And Rick and I mean, we're just not greedy people, Wes, and we were okay with giving some of our margin to our nurses because we wanted to empower the nursing profession. You know what I mean?
So going back, though, so when Rick said, yeah, I'm starting a new company, did you know the hospital rate? So were you able to go in there and just offer the same or a little bit less and just keep more, or were you kind of winging it?
Well, you kind of did some quick research, and they call me Katie Couric, so if I want to know something, I'm going to get the answer. So I got the information, and then, Rick and I kind of did the numbers real quick in our mind and thought, well, we can do this. And, and at that point, I mean, yeah, we were just really open to empowering nurses and doing a good job for the hospitals, you know what I mean? And showing them that, that we have really good people and making a good reputation for our company.
Right. So
yeah.
It sounded like you had a good thing going. Why'd you sell it?
Why'd we sell it, Rick?
So now Lisa's cracking up. So then, I was sent to Walter Reed, and the company continued to grow, and we stopped our private sector, in other words, the standard hospitals, and we worked exclusively with the federal government. Several years ago, our company won one of the biggest contracts in federal at that time in military federal staffing.
Yeah, it was the biggest. It was the biggest healthcare contract.
Big healthcare contract. It was the biggest award, and so we were truly like on cloud nine. We had really accomplished some stuff. Wes, you know what it was? It's I had then opened up some CrossFit gyms, and that was even good. I mean, we've just been blessed. I mean, I don't know anything about the fitness industry, but I just felt compelled to want to do that business, and it was good. And then I think, Wes, it was this internal shift for me, and good or bad. And I'm not. Sometimes I still wonder. Lisa's my wife, and she supported me, and I felt like certain things had moved away from our initial value proposition. We then had professional management at the company. Lisa was still there day to day. I was no longer there. I didn't even have a desk at the staffing firm.
Right.
I worked in my gyms as a CrossFit trainer and had a growing tribe of athletes. And it was a shift for me. Something inside, I was like, Rick, you've moved away from the reasons why you started, why you jumped into this world of working for yourself and being an entrepreneur. And Wes, what it was is I had experienced success. I'm a kid from East LA. Okay, I was born in LA. And suddenly I was in this world where I had things I could never have imagined, material stuff. And that's just the frank truth. And I didn't understand what it all meant. And then one day I understood that it was meaning the wrong things for me. And I might even say, and I've said this before, that there was a bit of arrogance about me. And it's like, what are you going to say to me now? What you got? And I say that because I've had a massive shift in my life. But I was at this point where I was like, I'm at the top of the mountain. What do you got for me now? What are you going to do? And then I thought I needed to make a change. And part of that change was shedding my old skin. And part of that was the company. And unfortunately, the company had changed a little bit. It had become more concerned with margin and bottom line and profit. And nothing wrong with that at all. But it's not why I started. And so, a lot of deliberation. And I told Lisa, I said, this is where my heart is. And I said, we need to get out. And we ended up not just selling that business, but closing down our CrossFit gyms. And we were investors in several companies. And it was a massive shift for us, Wes, in a very deep level. And this was in the last probably 4 years that our lives have changed, like in a real radical and positive way.
So you sold everything. Did you do the proverbial, go golfing, go fishing for a while, and just kind of let the dust settle?
Wes, I did the proverbial golf, and and I wouldn't change a thing. I think it's part of the, if we don't reward ourselves for the things we've done in life, whether it's as an entrepreneur or a fireman or a nurse or whatever, then we're missing out on something. But it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. I mean, and I'm not saying this like, oh, cry me a river to listeners out there. You did this and now you don't know what to do with yourself. I should have those kinds of problems, but I was very empty. And I had this wonderful wife and healthy kids, and I began this search for a piece of me that was missing. And for better or for worse, I'm looking at Lisa right now. It's like she was along the journey with me, and here I was missing a part of my life. I don't know what it was. And I look over at my wife day to day thinking she was pretty content. And am I really just jacking things up? But the fact is, Wes, I was just lost. I had no direction, no meaning. And I was just looking for something.
Mm-hmm. How did you find it?
So I had an accident a few years ago, and it was at a competition because, since I had accomplished stuff, I could beat my chest and, what is the average air quote Joe going to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
I've done stuff, and 225 pounds crushed one of my legs. And, I lay there on the ground, right before the pain washed in. And as a trauma nurse, Wes, when that happened and I heard a loud snap, I knew something was really, really wrong. So
what kind of competition?
I was an Olympic lifter. So I lifted, I'm a 40-year-old guy, but I had been lifting, clean and jerks and snatches. I had been doing that, and I had been participating in different CrossFit competitions, but I was in a lifting competition, and it was a freak slip of my foot. I had lifting shoes on, and I hit a personal record that day, and everything, it wasn't supposed to go wrong. It was supposed to go right that day. And, 225 pounds of weights dropping on a human leg, the bar is going to win every time, I guarantee.
So you were just doing one-arm curls? Usually I'm just warming up with that. Us Navy SEALs of the nursing world, we're a different breed, Wes. So what were you doing? Like power cleans or,
Yep, it was a clean and jerk. And
okay.
And the bar was on its way up, and my foot slipped, and it was so fast and yet slow in my mind, and it landed square on my outstretched leg, and it was not pleasant.
Oh. So, all right. So before the pain sets in, what was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind was, it was one of those like Saving Private Ryan moments where the bomb goes off and everything's quiet and slow. Mm-hmm. Just like that. And that's how I remember it. But I'm laying there on the ground. It was a perfect, crystal clear blue day. The weather was awesome. People still at that point hadn't realized that I had had an accident. They thought I had just slipped and fallen down.
Right.
And so I'm looking up at the sky, and I finally just looked up and I said, I get it. I totally get it now. It was never about me. And as I get this like overwhelming sense of there's a bigger picture, a bigger message, just this massive amount of pain washed through me, Wes. And that's when I knew that there had to be a massive change in my life. Wow.
That's amazing. So what happened? You blow out your knee? Did you break a tibia, what? Everything?
No, actually. So if you can imagine, like, let me see. So imagine you're just like sitting in a chair, and you look at your right knee as you sit in the chair, and your leg is kind of your foot's on the ground, and just a perfect posture. So right above where your knee bends, like maybe an inch, like on your thigh,
right.
That's where the weight fell. And what it did is no bones broke, but what it did, Wes, is it actually severed everything, every muscle and tendon off of my lower leg. And there was a lot of rehab. The snap that I heard was actually muscle and tendon on the top of my quad retracting or rolling back up into my...
I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, man.
Hey, you asked.
Yeah, you're supposed to tell me, Wes, you are not a nurse. You're not equipped to handle what I'm about to tell you. Like in the moment, I've been in car accidents. I've been in several car accidents. It's kind of weird, and I've never been hurt. But I've been around people, broken legs. My sister, cut her eye. And like in the moment, I can do anything, right? Blood and guts do not bother me. But I couldn't be a nurse. I couldn't care for it after the fact and treat it. Oh, no way, man. Just, I need the adrenaline to not worry about anything, and then I can't think about it. So that's amazing. So, all right. So then you call your wife and you say, hey, I'm this now unemployed entrepreneur with a nice bank account and a blown out knee, but I know what we're going to do with the rest of our lives. Was that kind of the gist of the conversation?
I don't know about all that, my friend. I don't even think he had it figured out yet, but I think he realized that he wasn't the be all end all of the world anymore. You know what I mean? There was a bigger purpose for him. There was a bigger person. And, and I think it kind of humbled Rick a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I had, I think it was Joel Lambert. He was the first one I had on the SEAL Week. And he talked about looking back and even now embracing and seeking out the dark valleys, he called them, because he said, in looking back after he got to the top of the mountain, he looked back at the dark valleys and he said, that's where the growth occurred, grinding it out when things are tough, so would you say the same thing? I mean, would you tell our listeners, embrace the challenge? You may not know why it's happening now, but there is some good that'll come out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that statement.
So Lisa, when are you going to go drop 225 pounds on your leg?
No, I think I'm walking with the 225 pounds here with Rick on a day-to-day basis with this boy. That's why I call him Planet Boy. I tell you, Wes, he wakes up on a new planet every day and has a different plan, but it's always for it's good. It definitely keeps me on my toes because I'm kind of in the box thinker, and right. Out of the box gets me a little bit scared on most days. And being Rick's wife, I'm out of the box every day. So I think every day I wake up and I'm shitting my pants.
Well, good thing he's a nurse. He knows how to change it, huh?
There you go.
All right. Now, that brings up an interesting dilemma because most entrepreneurs have that, and it's both a blessing and a curse. How do you choose? How do you stay focused? How do you launch, right? How do you create that minimum viable product and get it out there? Because having 1,000 good ideas that are 90% done will not make you any money.
You're right. Absolutely. So I think that, we definitely, we had our staffing company, we had the CrossFit gyms. Rick has been going out speaking for the last 2 years with EO. He works with EO. He did consulting with them and has been out training for them worldwide. And he wrote a book and was doing that about finding purpose, finding, the bigger thing in life. And now I think he's really honed in on this product that we're doing right now, that we're actually launching tomorrow, our course. It's called Biz Academy Online, and it's basically the accelerator course on building businesses. We speak to the business owner that's $0 to $1 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. And so it launches tomorrow, and it's been really, really exciting using the systems with Entreport and all the business training that Rick's been doing, putting it all together in this course. It's crazy. So I think it really could help a business owner really make some big changes in their business. So we're super, super excited. The course launched. The cart closed last week, and the course launches tomorrow. We have several people in the group, and they're super excited, and we're real excited to kick this off.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I was gonna help you promote it, but we'll have to promote the second one, huh? So it was a good launch? Yeah,
it was awesome.
Very nice. Yeah. All right. So let's talk some technical things here. So you mentioned bizacademyonline.com. I'm on your website, but the website I'm on is thehustleblueprint.com. So how do you how'd you decide to do a launch versus an evergreen kind of program? And how do you decide, like, the naming convention? Why have the hustleblueprint.com but then mention bizacademyonline.com when that course is closed right now?
That's a great question. And so what we did with this, Wes, is every business is a new business until you've been in it for a while. Like staffing. I don't know anything about staffing. I don't know anything about CrossFit or fitness. And we've taken this, Lisa and I have taken this head first dive. Really, I've taken it, and I grabbed her hand on the way into this digital marketing world. And we became as much an expert as we could, to the extent that, Lisa went to Entreport and became certified. I've been to their boot camp. I went to work with Digital Marketer up in Austin and content creation companies and Facebook. Anyway, you name it. And then what we did is we worked with to launch this using the Jeff Walker product launch formula. And here's what we did: is I gave myself, as well as our team, the okay that we're going to be bad the first time. It's any entrepreneur, it's never going to come out the way you envision it. So we knew it was going to be bad. So naming conventions and all those, Wes, we're still kind of for the launch, we did the product launch formula, and we had our the 3 videos that went out. We used video, and then opened the card up, and we closed it last week. And as far as evergreen, those are great questions, because as of this conversation on November 30th. It looks like what we're going to do is build this into a membership site in 2016. And here's why. Because your questions are questions that we had. It's like, okay, how do we figure out the naming convention? And do we want to do this product launch formula sequence again? It was a ton of work. It was a ton of work. So we're learning as we go. That's just the honest truth. And
well, clearly you're doing something wrong, because you're just supposed to make a video and throw a page up on WordPress and people just send you money.
You're right. That doesn't happen.
Wes, I know you say that like tongue in cheek, and I got to tell you that. So this world is new for us, like this online world, to the extent that, using Facebook marketing and, landing pages and drip sequences. But we've really gotten a hold of it to the extent that we used it to launch this. And then the flip side is exactly what you said, is then there's all these shiny object things. And I look at them and I'm like, oh, maybe we need that, because if I implement that, we're going to get 10,000 new people on our list in a matter of 48 hours because that guy did it. And I had to really stop, because Lisa calls me Planet Boy, and she reels me in, and she's like, Rick, let's stick to fundamentals. Let's stick to executables and things. That's her skill set. She keeps me reeled in. And, it's you say that tongue in cheek, but it's the truth, is that we get so distracted. And the fact is, it's usually the fundamentals. Before you hit a home run, you got to learn to put on the cleats and swing the bats. And everybody just wants to hit the home run. And just like in baseball, it doesn't work that way in business either.
Right. Yeah, and that's I see far too many people struggling because they see the famous ones, John Lee Dumas with his podcasting, and James Wedmore with his YouTube videos, and Jeff Walker with Product Launch Formula. But there are so many moving pieces and parts, and people see their big, massive success, and they go try to do that, and they don't have the same success, and they think, oh, I'm an idiot. Worst case, they quit, which kills me. Or second worst case, they go into learning and conference attendee mode, and they waste a lot of time and money really running around just getting hung over, learning a little bit here and there, rarely implementing anything, and they're just stuck in mediocrity world forever, and it kills me. So I hope your program, you're gonna knock the cobwebs out of the people's ears and make them stick to it and achieve, right?
Oh, no doubt. So if there's, so we've met, Wes, and I'm generally a quiet guy. Lisa's the Katie Couric. She's the one, a lot of times in public situations, she's the one out in front because people just gravitate towards her. But there's certain things that fire me up. And that's what you just said, is if you're going to be a quitter, you're in the wrong program. I don't want your money. Yep. And it's not a matter of whether I need it or not. It's a matter of, I want you to succeed, and I'm going to put my heart, my soul into this, into helping you succeed. But the thing you got to promise yourself, and then maybe me second, it's you're not going to quit, because this shit is hard. It is not easy. And it's going to take punches, and you're going to get knocked down, and you better stand back up, because I'm going to be there with you. And I don't want to play with people who are going to half-ass it. I don't.
Yep.
And so as far as the cobwebs, you're damn right, Wes. I don't want to work with people who don't want it as bad as they want to breathe. When they look at me or I look at them and they say, I want this more than I want to breathe, then they will not lose. And then that's where time is best spent.
Right. Well, and it's funny you say that, because I get into a lot of that. Like, I'm launching the Make Every Sale program right now. And I talk a lot about it. In my course, it's front loaded with prospecting, and I get into disqualifying, because the idea, too many sales trainers, because it's cool, they'll talk about focus on the close, always be closing. Good old Glenn Ross, right? A, always. B, C, closing. The ABCs of selling, and I'm like, no, man, if you disqualify, if you sort and sift and do a better job working with people up front, so that you're only working with the motivated, sales come a lot easier. And I think that's basically what you said, right? I mean, the success comes easier when you're working with the right people.
No doubt. Wes, and then the other side of that is that, so that is right on. And Glenn Ross, that's like, no doubt. And then here's the other thing that happens. And this is a lesson I've learned the hard way, and I would imagine you have too, is when you get the wrong people on the team, you seem to spend the bulk of your time with the wrong people. And the ones who are the hard chargers are the ones who get neglected. And so disqualification is so critical on the front end, because then when you spend your time with somebody, they're going to succeed. Yep. The squeaky wheels are weeded out.
Yep. Amen. So what are people going to learn in future classes? So as people are listening to this in the future, what are some of the biggest takeaways they're going to get from your program?
So I appreciate that. So the first thing is let me give you a quick example. I took a Krav Maga training course about 7 years ago when I was at Walter Reed. I went and I studied with spent a weekend to be certified to teach Krav Maga. And Krav Maga is an Israeli martial arts, and they do it in the movies. And, in the movies when the guy pulls the gun out, the other guy does some real cool, wicked quick move, and the gun disappears and it gets taken apart. Right? So when I went to Krav Maga, I wanted to learn the Hollywood stuff. I wanted to learn when the guy comes at me with a knife, how do I reverse it and get away? And how do I, get the gun away? And my instructor, Moni Isaac, said, Rick, there's simplicity and genius and simplicity. He goes, but first, you have to learn how to stand. You got to learn how to hold yourself. You have to learn these things before you learn the Hollywood stuff. So right. I say this with respect to the people who want to come into a business course and learn the Hollywood stuff, because the Hollywood stuff gets you nowhere but second place. So what do they learn? The first thing that we talk about is simple mindset, fundamentals. And I know people think and they believe, I already got that, Rick. I got it. I understand. I got to think positive. I'm like, no, we're going to do it every day. We're going to make it a habit, consistent. And just when it becomes habit, we roll into the next part, which is how to find who your avatar is, the person you're speaking to. Because 9 times out of 10, Wes, somebody will say, well, I just sell to everybody. Well, if you do that, you sell to nobody. So
yep.
So the importance of finding that person, your pocket of people, and then when you're doing your daily habits, your daily mindset, your daily things, and you're honing them in your pocket of people, understanding it, then we talk about how to market to them. Marketing using free things like Entreport's new product, Entrepages. So I just happen to be married to an Entreport consultant. We use it. So we teach them how to build a free landing page, Entrepages. And then when they're doing mindset day to day, and they're learning their avatar. Who do they talk to? They build a lead page. An entre page. Then we teach them how to market to them using emails, because I studied with Digital Marketer. I went through their email certification course, how to talk to them, and then ultimately how to make the sales and then keep them as raving fans in a very simple way.
Yep.
No Hollywood, no fancy stuff, business fundamentals and tactics, so that day comes when they hit a home run.
Right. And I'm gonna take a leap here, I like to play devil's advocate. So there might be some people listening to this that would say, oh, you're just brand new certified. You're new to this world. You're a brick and mortar kind of business guy. Why should I enroll with you? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess a couple of benefits of working with you is, well, A, we get two of you for the price of one. B, the price is probably as low as it'll ever be, and probably after every few months you're going to raise the price as you do hone this in. And C, I would think your business acumen, your brick and mortar experience is probably what most people need in this world because the online community is so cluttered. People forget that there's a human being on the other end of that telephone, text message, landing page, and they need to. I think you're going to bring the human aspect to sales and marketing and entrepreneurship. Am I wrong on any of those statements?
No, Wes, you're right, and those are great questions. Like, why you? Why
right.
you, Rick, and why Biz Academy? And I get asked that. I get asked that often. I even get asked the question, why are you even doing this? Because you don't have to. Why or how do you expect me to get there? Because, I don't have the same resources or background or these things, and why? And Wes, here's my no bullshit answer, is I have no problem looking at a fellow human being in the eye and saying, look, there's a reason why we're in front of each other, whether it's virtual or live face-to-face. And here's the reason why I'm doing this, is because I think that entrepreneurship nowadays is the ultimate level playing field. Anybody can do it at any time, anywhere. You have two choices. You have three choices or maybe four choices. You can get an MBA and spend a lot of money and emerge 3 years later with a decent job. You can go take the shiny object course and you're going to learn the Hollywood thing, how to take a gun away, but you're not going to build a sustainable business, whether it's online or brick or mortar. You can do this all yourself because that's what I did. That's what I did in business number 1. Business number 2, that's what I did with my angel investments number 3 and 4 and 5, even to the extent that we've produced movies, like no bullshit movies. I didn't know what I didn't know until the day I knew, and you're looking at me, Mr. A or Mrs. B, because you need something that I have, and I'm the guy to come to. And here's the other reason why, is because I'm sick and tired of entrepreneurs being charged thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars for mastermind programs that don't serve them. And here's the difference between me and them, because I've been there, done that. I wear that badge proudly. I used to wear it in an arrogant way, but now I wear it in a way that serves you.
Right.
I'm going to do it for $1 a day. $1 a day for the remainder of your life. Mm-hmm. Now, if that doesn't jog something in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, then I need to move on because it's going to do that for somebody else. And I need to put my time where it's best spent.
Yeah. Amen. Well, my brother and my sister, we're coming out. Can you believe 50 minutes already? What is going on here?
Fast.
So, final words of wisdom. I mean, I like to say, picture our listeners. They're on the treadmill at the gym. They're on the mountain bike. They're in an airport. Maybe they can't write things down. Maybe they can't log in the internet or whatever. But what one takeaway do you want them to have? What do you want them to do when they can sit down and map things out and take action? So, based on this call, on this interview.
Wes, I am all about, what I'm not about is platitudes and phrases that everybody says, like something by Winston Churchill, who I adore, or by Mark Cuban, who I just love. I'm about shake, rattle, and roll. So here's what I would tell somebody to do. I would tell somebody to do this, and this might not even segue into this conversation, but one of the things that we left untouched was, Rick, what was the thing? What was the thing when you were laying on the ground? What was it where you finally found what you were looking for? And here's what it was, Wes, and this is what I would tell somebody. It's my belief in a higher power was rekindled. I was baptized 3 years ago, so anybody who's out there listening, trying to figure out what to do next, drop to your knees. Drop to your knees and thank the good Lord that you're able to drop to your knees and take a breath. Mm-hmm. And then you will be unstoppable. So no hacks, no tools, no tricks, no quotes, no nothing. Drop to your effing knees and pray to whatever God you want to pray to. I pray to the Lord Jesus Christ that I can do this each and every day with fire and passion. And that is what I would tell somebody to do.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen, my brother and my sister. Well, this has been fantastic. Lisa, I like you chiming in and keeping him straight on the straight and narrow. It's a big task, so I don't envy you. So we've mentioned the website, right? It's thehustleblueprint.com is where we want to send everybody.
Yep.
All right. And then we will have links to your purpose hack and yoga_girl65 so they can track you down on Twitter. But hey, thanks for carving out some time and coming on the Sales Podcast.
Wes, this was a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Wes. We really appreciate it.
All right. My pleasure. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
You too, Wes.
I cannot overemphasize the importance of having a great spouse. And as a man, I tell you, having a great woman behind you, supporting you, you know, they say, well, where was it? Lisa was content, but Rick was lost. And she followed his lead. You know, he wanted to do something and she let him run with it and supported him. And you know what? He probably would not have succeeded either as quickly or as successfully if he did not have her support, if she wasn't behind him. I know my wife, 20 plus years now, has put up with some antics, lots of layoffs and firings and unemployment and moves, you know, move within a city, move within a state, move across the state. But she never lost doubt, never lost faith. And I tell you, it's a huge thing. So always marry up. All right. But as you can see, this is why I wanted to have these great people on, a great couple, great entrepreneurs, putting their heart into things. I love the way Rick talked about, he doesn't shy away from the fact that he found God, you know, in that injury. And the Lord really does work in mysterious ways. And, you know, I mentioned it on several episodes. I talked about it with Aaron Chase on 169, you know, their setbacks and the economic downturn forced them to cut back. And that became her business, you know, what she was doing to save money. And, you know, Rick found God through his injury. And so, you know, you can't always expect it. You shouldn't even hope for, or even ask for an easy path. What you should ask for is the courage and the wisdom and the intelligence and the perseverance and the will to overcome whatever gets placed in your way, in, you know, insofar as an obstacle. So that's why I said I want to have these folks on. Hey, thanks for listening. Remember, I've got a great new series, a 7-part free mini course on how to make sales, how to make them automatically and bring people to you ready to buy. So you can get that at the homepage of The Sales Whisperer. And please share this, like it, comment, give a 5-star review. And as always, remember to sell different.